If you're listening late at night, you might want to stay until the end. Something happened to me, and to this day I can't understand it. I've been working with a hot dog cart for 7 years. Always at night. Always on the same corner, on Grant Avenue, downtown Portland, Oregon. It's a busy corner during the day, full of hurried people, tourists taking pictures of the old Greyhound bus station that was decommissioned in the 90s. But at night? At night it's a different story. At night, people don't look at each other. They just pass by. I learned that quickly. My first year there, I still tried to talk. I'd start a conversation, ask how their day was. You know, those things you do to feel less alone. But I soon realized that nobody wanted that. They'd come, order a hot dog, pay, and leave. No eye contact, no smiles, nothing. And that's fine. I understand. The night belongs to those who don't want to be seen. After the divorce, I preferred it this way. The silence. The biting cold of a Portland winter. The fog rising from the Willamette River, covering everything like a dirty sheet. The smell of hot grease mixed with the steam rising from the subway vents. There's something comforting about knowing exactly what to expect. Predictable solitude. I work from 10 at night until 4 in the morning. It's during this time that the city shows its true face. Nurses leaving their shift. Security guards at commercial buildings. People leaving bars. Homeless people who appear out of nowhere asking for whatever is left. Uber drivers stopping briefly to grab something hot before continuing their journey. Nobody talks much. Nobody asks questions. Nobody, he wants to know. And that's exactly why I should have been more surprised when he showed up. It was a Tuesday, early November. The cold was already brutal. That kind of damp cold that seeps into your bones. I'd been alone for almost an hour. No customers, no cars, no sound other than the wind hitting the cart's canvas and the distant hum of streetlights. Then I saw him. He was standing on the other side of the street, just standing there, looking at me. Or at least I was. I thought, who was looking at me? The fog was too thick to be sure. I stood watching. He didn't move. He just stood there, like a statue, wearing something dark, maybe a coat, maybe not. After about 2 or 3 minutes, he crossed, and that's when I saw his condition. Torn clothes, pale face, almost gray, trembling hands. He was limping. There was dried blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes, Jesus, his eyes were empty, as if he had seen something that ripped everything out from inside. He stopped in front of the cart. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, breathing. I waited. I thought he was going to ask for food, or money, anything, but he just stood there staring at the ground, trembling. "Hey man, are you okay?" I asked, breaking my own rule. He slowly raised his eyes and whispered, so softly I could barely hear, "They said there would be people here." Before I could ask anything, I heard footsteps. 2 men. They came from the same direction as him, walking slowly, calm, dressed in black coats, hands in their pockets. They didn't run. They didn't scream. They simply approached, one on each side of the man, and held him by the arms. He couldn't resist, and nobody around did anything. I froze. It wasn't fear. Not at that moment. It was confusion. That feeling you get when you see something happening, but your brain hasn't yet processed what it is. Really, it's happening. The 2 men held him by the arms, one on each side, firmly but without violence, as if they were helping a drunk friend get home. But that wasn't it. You knew that wasn't it. The injured man didn't scream. He didn't ask for help. He just let his head fall forward, as if he had given up on everything. And they simply started walking. I looked around. There were people, not many, but there were. A woman with headphones waiting for the bus across the street. A guy smoking leaning against the wall of a building. Two young men leaving a bar on the corner. Nobody looked. Nobody stopped. Nobody frowned. Nobody took out their cell phone to record or call the police. They just kept going, as if those three men were invisible, or as if he were the only one watching. I felt my stomach churn. That feeling of unreality, you know? Like when you wake up from a nightmare, but you're still not sure if you've really woken up. "Hey," I called out without thinking. One of the men turned his head. Just his head. Slowly. He looked at me. Not angrily, not threateningly. He just looked, as if registering my face, my presence, my interference. Then he smiled. A small, almost polite smile. And he kept walking. They turned the corner and disappeared into the fog. I stood there, motionless, holding the spatula in my hand like an idiot. My heart was beating too fast. My breath was short. My hands were sweating even in the cold. What the hell just happened? I looked back at the street. The woman on the bus was still fiddling with her cell phone. The guy smoking threw his cigarette butt on the ground and went into the building. The boys laughed loudly at some inside joke and kept walking. Nothing had changed, except that I had seen it, and no one else. I grabbed my cell phone. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? "Hi. Two guys took an injured man and nobody thought it was strange." They would ask me if he resisted, if he screamed, if he asked for help. And the answer to everything was no. I put my cell phone away. I stood there for another 20 minutes, staring at the corner where they had disappeared. No sound, no screams, no sirens, nothing. I should have left, closed the cart, going back home. But I didn't go, because part of me still thought I was going crazy, that I had imagined it, that the loneliness of the early mornings had finally taken its toll, until one of them returned. It was 2:37 a.m. I remember because I looked at my phone's clock when I heard the footsteps. He came alone. The same man who had turned his head and smiled. Same dark clothes. Same calm posture. Hands still in his pockets. He stopped in front of the cart. "A hot dog," he said, in a neutral voice. Neither loud nor soft. Just empty. I couldn't move. I just stared at him, trying to understand, trying to find some explanation. "With mustard," he added, still looking at me. My hands moved on their own. I picked up the bread, the sausage, the mustard. I wrapped it up. I handed it over. He picked it up. He placed a $5 bill on the counter. "Keep the change." Then he leaned in slightly, as if to tell me a secret, and whispered, "Thank you for not interfering." My blood froze. He picked up the hot dog, took a bite, and started walking. Slowly, calmly, as if he had just bought a snack after a long day at work. I stood there, still, with the $5 bill in my hand, and then I realized he knew I had seen it. He always, I found out. And he was thanking me for not having done anything. I didn't sleep that night. I got home when the sun started to rise, but I couldn't close my eyes. I lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling, reliving every second, the empty expression on the injured man's face, the calm way the two of them carried him, the smile, the bite of the hot dog, the phrase, "Thank you for not interfering." I tried to convince myself it was paranoia, exhaustion, that I had misinterpreted it. But deep down, I knew. It wasn't accidental. It was a notice. I spent the day researching. I looked for missing persons reports in Portland. Men. Corner of Grant. Anything. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I thought about not going back, about abandoning the cart, finding another spot, another time. But I needed the money. And more than that, I needed to know. So I went back. That same night. I arrived early. I set up my cart at 9:30. I watched every person who passed by. every movement, every shadow. But everything seemed normal. People buying hot dogs, paying, leaving. Then, around 1 in the morning, I looked at the ground. It had a stain on the asphalt, right in front of where the man had been standing that night. I hadn't noticed it before. Or maybe it wasn't there. It was dark, irregular. It looked old, but at the same time, fresh. I bent down. I ran my hand over it. It was damp. Blood. I stood up quickly, wiping my hand on my pants. I looked around. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody thought it was strange. In the following days, I started paying more attention, and I noticed a pattern. The stain appeared every morning, always in the same place, always between 1 and 2 in the morning, and it disappeared shortly before dawn, as if someone had cleaned it, or as if it simply vanished. I asked other vendors, people who work in the same area, on the same streets, at the same hours. Dude, have you seen anything weird around here? Like people being taken away? Bloodstains. They looked at me as if I were crazy, but there was something in their eyes. It wasn't a surprise. It was recognition. One of them, a Mexican gentleman who sells tacos on the next corner, just shook his head and said, "Brother, if you've seen it, you already know too much. And if you know too much, don't ask." He turned and left. We never spoke of it again. I started noticing other things. Sometimes, in the early morning, I would see the same 2 men, always wearing dark coats, always walking slowly, never running, never shouting, and always holding someone by the arms, and nobody reacted. Sometimes they were women, sometimes men, young, old. It didn't matter. They appeared confused, hurt, scared, and they were taken away. And the city continued, as if nothing had happened. I stopped trying to understand. I stopped looking for answers, because I realized that the answers didn't matter. What mattered was the rule. Don't interfere. I still work there. Same corner, same Grant Avenue, same cold, silent Portland mornings. I still see the stains. I still see the men. I still see the victims. And I do nothing, because I learned the hard way that at night, in this city, there are rules that no one explains to you. Rules that you only understand when it's too late to disobey. There are nights when I look into the eyes of my clients, and I see the same thing. They know. Everyone who works nights knows. He knows. But nobody talks about it. Nobody asks. Because asking means turning to the next person. And I don't want to be next. Last night, a man stopped in front of the cart. Young, torn sweater, glazed eyes. He whispered, "They said there would be people here." I looked at him, and then I looked at the street. I saw the 2 men approaching, and I did nothing. Because deep down, I already knew the answer, and you know it too. At night, in the streets, nobody asks about anybody. Something happened to me, and to this day, I can't understand it. I sell hot dogs on the corner of Broad Street and Franklin in Philadelphia. It's not glamorous. It doesn't pay well, but it pays the bills, or it did, until I started falling behind on everything. I work from 7 at night until 3 in the morning, always alone. My cart is parked under a lamppost that's been flickering since last summer. The city never fixed it. Sometimes the light goes out completely, and I'm left there in the dim light, listening to the footsteps of people returning from the bars. That October night, it was cold. A damp cold that clings to the skin. I was counting the night's dollars, 23 measly dollars when he appeared. A man in a suit, dark suit, well-tailored, shoes gleaming even in the dim light. He didn't order a hot dog. He didn't order anything. He just stood there, on the other side of the cart, watching me. I tried to smile. "Can I help?" He tilted his head slightly. "You work too hard." It wasn't a question. "I need to work," I replied, without knowing why I was being honest. He nodded slowly, as if he already knew, as if he had studied me beforehand. He must be tired. I was. Exhausted. My feet ached. My back burned. My bank account had been overdrawn for 3 weeks. Then he put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. Money. Lots of money. "I need you to save something for me." My heart raced. "Store what?" He pointed to a black bag on the floor next to him. I hadn't even noticed it was there. "Just for a few minutes. I'll get it right away. You don't need to open it. You don't need to ask questions. Just put it away." Silence. The icy wind hit my face. "How much?" I asked, my voice coming out hoarse. $500. I blinked. $500 for holding a bag. He handed her the envelope. I should have refused. I know that, but my hand moved on its own. I took the money. He smiled, not with his mouth, but with his eyes. A cold smile. Intelligent. He picked up the bag and placed it under my cart, between the cardboard boxes and the gas cylinder. "I'll be back in 20 minutes. And he left. I stood there, holding the envelope. The money was real, $50 bills, clean, new, but the bag was heavy, too heavy to be empty. And when the wind stopped, I swear I heard something moving in there. I tried not to look down. I tried to work normally, serve customers, smile, make hot dogs. But my eyes always returned to the bag under the cart. It was made of thick, black canvas, with a zipper at the top secured with a small padlock. It had no brand name. Nothing was written on it. Just a bag. But she was cold. I could feel the cold rising from the ground, as if the temperature around her was different, denser, and the smell, a metallic smell, almost imperceptible, but it was there, like old coins mixed with something organic, something damp. 20 minutes have passed, after 30, after an hour. He didn't come back. I started sweating, even though it was cold. My stomach churned. I knew I'd messed up. I knew it. That's when the first guy showed up. He was thin, with a gray cap pulled up over his eyes. He walked right past the cart, but stopped about 3 meters away. He stood there, looking at me. He didn't order food. He didn't say anything. He just stayed there, stopped, looking. After about 5 minutes, he left. Half an hour later, another person did the same thing. A woman in a long coat. She stopped, looked at me, and walked away. I started to tremble. They knew, I don't know how, but they knew I had the bag. At 2 in the morning, when the street was almost empty, I bent down. My hand reached for the bag. I needed to know. I touched the canvas, and she was hot. Not cold, hot, as if something alive were inside. My heart raced. I pulled my hand back as if it had caught fire. And then I felt it. A movement. Slow. Subtle. As if something was trying to turn around inside. I stepped away from the cart. My legs were trembling. My breathing was erratic. "Calm down," I whispered to myself. "Calm down. It's nothing. It's just your head." But I knew. I knew it wasn't. That's when he returned. The man in the suit. It emerged from the darkness as if it had always been there, just waiting. He said nothing. He simply bent down, picked up the bag with one hand, as if it weighed nothing, and tucked it under his arm. He looked me in the eyes. "Good job." And he left. I stood there, alone, with $500 in my pocket and the metallic smell still clinging to my throat. That night, I couldn't sleep, because when I closed my eyes, I heard it again. That sound, that movement, coming from inside the bag. And the next morning, when I opened the refrigerator to get water, there was an envelope waiting for me. Inside my house, with my name handwritten on it, and another $500 inside. I didn't tell anyone about the envelope. How could I? Hey, someone broke into my house and left me some money. Nobody would believe me, or worse, they would. I spent the whole day locked inside. I checked the windows, the door. Everything was locked, nothing forced, nothing broken. But they went in, and they left the money. Just a reminder, like a promise. That night, when I set up my cart on the corner, I was determined. I was going to return the money. I was going to refuse anything he asked for. I was going to get out of there. But when the man in the suit appeared, at 10:30 at night, with the same calm posture, the same cold look, I couldn't even speak. He placed another bag on the ground. Same thing. 20 minutes. No, I said. My voice came out weak, but I said it. No. I don't want to anymore. He stopped. He looked at me as if he were assessing an insect. And then she smiled. You already accepted once. Silence. It's part of it now. My blood froze. I'm not part of anything, I replied, trying to sound firm. I just held a bag. That's it. He tilted his head. He took a step forward. Do you think you're the only one? I didn't answer. There's a guy who sells tacos on Walnut Street. There used to be. He thought he could leave too. He paused. He let the words sink in. No one has seen him for 3 weeks. My stomach churned. You don't need to understand, he continued, his voice low, almost gentle. You just need to keep doing what you're doing. Work. Save. Don't ask. He placed another envelope on the cart counter. Or you can try to leave, but then, he shrugged. You already know what happens. And he left. I stood there, trembling, staring at the bag on the floor. I caught her. I put it under the cart, because I had no choice. In the following days, things got worse. I started seeing shadows, always at the edges of my vision. People standing on the other side of the street, cars parked with their headlights off. But I knew someone was inside. My apartment started to change. Little things. The kitchen chair turned sideways, the tap dripping, even though I've turned it off. My cell phone dying every morning, even though it's plugged in. And tickets. Little notes left in impossible places. Good job. Keep it up. They trust you. I tried to go to the police. I swear I tried. But when I got to the police station door, there was a man in a suit standing across the street, looking at me. I turned around, and last night, the bag opened. Not completely, just a little. The zipper gave way on its own while I was closing the stroller. I didn't want to look, but I looked, and I saw fingers, small, pale, pressed against the canvas from the inside. I stepped back, stumbling, and fell onto the curb. When I looked up, the man in the suit was there. Still, observing. He picked up the bag. He calmly zipped it up. You saw. I couldn't speak, but it won't count, because now, you're truly part of it. And he disappeared into the darkness. I still work on that corner, every night. And every night, they bring a bag. I don't look anymore. I don't ask. Because now I know. They knew I needed the money. And now, I'll never be able to leave. Something happened to me. And to this day, I can't understand it. I work selling hot dogs from a street cart, night shift, from 10 o'clock at night until 5 in the morning, Monday to Saturday. Always on the same corner in Newark, New Jersey. An area that used to be commercial, but now it's just cracked concrete, closed shops, and light poles that flicker when the wind blows on the wires. It's not a glamorous job, but it pays the bills. And honestly, I prefer the night shift. Fewer people, fewer questions. Just me, the smell of fried onions, and the occasional sound of a car speeding by. Most of my customers are the same. Taxi drivers, building security guards, nurses finishing their shifts, tired people, people who don't want to talk, just hot food and silence until she showed up. It was a Thursday. I remember because on Thursdays the business always slows down after midnight. I was cleaning the grill when I felt it. Not a noise, not a movement, just presence. I looked up. She was standing on the other side of the sidewalk, close enough to be in the streetlight, but far enough away that I couldn't see her face properly. She was wearing a gray coat, her hands were in her pockets, and her dark hair fell over her shoulders, and she was crying. It wasn't a loud cry. There were no sobs, no screams, nothing dramatic. It was a silent cry, the kind you feel more than you hear, shoulders trembling slightly, head bowed, hands pressed against the chest. I froze. I don't know how long I just stood there staring, maybe 10 seconds, maybe a minute. Time felt strange. "Hey, are you okay?" My voice came out lower than I intended. She didn't answer. I took a step forward. The wind blew, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and something else. Something metallic, like old blood. "Do you need help? Do you want me to call someone?" Nothing. She continued crying, still, motionless, like a broken statue. I stood there, spatula still in hand, not knowing what to do. Part of me wanted to go to her. Another part didn't want to get near her. Then, suddenly, she turned around. He didn't walk. He just turned, and it disappeared into the darkness between the buildings. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear anything. I stared at that patch of shadow for what seemed like an eternity. My heart was racing. My hands were sweaty, but nothing else happened. I tried to convince myself that it was just someone going through something difficult, maybe a fight, maybe grief. The city is full of broken people. But deep down, I knew that hadn't been normal. She's back, 3 nights later, same time, 3:17 in the morning. I know the exact time because I looked at my phone's clock when I felt that sensation again, that weight in the air, as if someone had just sucked all the oxygen out of the street. I raised my head. There she was, same place, same posture, same gray coat, crying silently. My stomach churned. This time, I tried to act differently. I pretended I wasn't seeing it. I kept cleaning the griddle, arranging the sauce containers, anything to avoid having to look. But I felt it. I felt her there, standing still. Watching? No. She never looked at me. She just existed, crying, always crying. I stayed like that for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. I don't know. Time seemed distorted whenever she appeared. When I finally mustered the courage to look again, she was gone. Again, no sound, no movement. It simply wasn't there anymore. And that's how the routine began. Every night, 3:17 in the morning, she would appear, always in the same place, always crying, always silent. I stopped trying to talk to her. I stopped looking directly at her. I just waited for it to pass. 5 minutes, 10 at most, and she would disappear. Until one Friday, a drunk customer changed everything. He was an older guy, unshaven, with a strong smell of cheap whiskey. He bought 2 hot dogs and stood there leaning against the cart, chewing slowly, staring into space. I was tense. It was 3:15. 2 minutes until she showed up, and she appeared. The guy stopped chewing. He looked at her, then at me, then at her again. She's back again, isn't she? My blood froze. You see her? He gave a short, bitter laugh. Everyone sees her, man. She always cries here. Ever since before that incident. I swallowed hard. What case? He looked at me like I was an idiot. Don't you know? No. He was silent for a moment. He looked at the woman again. She was still there, motionless, crying. It's better you don't know. And he left. He left half the hot dog in the cart and disappeared down the street, staggering. I stood there, trembling, looking at her. I tried to look. I swear I tried. I searched on Google, Newark woman killed on street corner, unsolved case New Jersey, missing woman in grey coat. Nothing. No news, no articles, no records. But after that night, I started noticing things. Things that have always been there, but that I had never paid attention to. On the post next to the cart, there was a torn photograph, held up with old tape. It was almost falling off. The face was blurred, ripped away. You could only see part of a shoulder. A grey coat. In the trash can, there were always flowers, wilted, thrown away, white roses, red carnations, as if someone brought them and then discarded them, and candles, burnt candles, melted into the concrete, always in the same dark stain on the ground, a few meters from the cart. How come I've never seen this before? I started losing sleep. Even during the day when I tried to rest, I dreamed about her silent crying, about her trembling shoulders, about that feeling of heaviness. And every night, at 3:17, she would return, always the same, always crying, until the night she finally looked at me. It was on a Tuesday. The street was emptier than usual. Not a single car had passed in the last half hour. The wind was blowing hard, dragging plastic bags across the sidewalk. The lamppost above me was flickering, as it always did when it rained. It's 3:15 in the morning. My whole body was tense. I knew she was coming. She always came. 3:16. I took a deep breath. I gripped the edge of the stroller tightly. 3:17. I felt it. That weight. That silence that wasn't silence. As if the world had stopped breathing. I slowly raised my eyes. She was there. But this time, closer. Not across the street. Not under the lamppost. She was standing less than 3 meters from me. On the left side of the stroller. So close I could see the threads of her grey coat. So close I could hear her crying. Quiet. Choked. Broken. My heart raced. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe properly. She kept her head down. Her dark hair covered her face. Her hands trembled in her pockets. And then, she raised her head. I saw her eyes, empty. There were no tears. There were no pupils, just emptiness, as if someone had erased everything that was inside. And she spoke. The voice came out hoarse, weak, as if it hadn't been used in years. You pretend not to see it too. I recoiled. My back hit the cart. I almost knocked over the pot of boiling water. I don't know what you're talking about. She tilted her head slightly, like a dog trying to understand a strange sound. Everyone pretends. My throat was dry. My voice came out in a desperate whisper. What do you want from me? She didn't answer. He just stared at me, for longer than any human being should be able to stare without blinking. And then, as always, she disappeared. It didn't turn. It didn't move. It simply ceased to be there. I collapsed to the floor, trembling, sweating profusely, trying to breathe. I stayed there until the sun rose. The next morning, when I got to the corner to assemble the stroller, the street was closed, yellow and black tape, police cars, investigators in FBI jackets, people in suits walking back and forth with clipboards and cameras. My stomach sank. I tried to approach. A police officer stopped me. Sorry, young man, isolated area. I work here. I assemble my cart here every day." He exchanged a glance with another police officer. "Not for now. This is a sensitive point of investigation." "Investigation of what?" Silence. "I can't talk about that. But I work here. I have a right to know." The policeman sighed. He looked at me with a tired expression, almost pitying. "Look, man, just find another place for a few weeks, okay? Trust me." I stood there, staring at the corner, at the dark stain on the ground where the candles always appeared, at the torn photo on the lamppost. And that's when I realized the photo was no longer torn. Someone had glued it back together. And now, you could see the face. It was her, the woman who was crying. Below the photo, in shaky lettering, it was written, "Missing, March 14th, 2019. 7 years ago. 7 years crying on that street corner. And nobody ever told anybody anything. I never went back there again. I got another spot, another neighborhood, another shift. But sometimes, when it's 3:17 in the morning, I still feel it. That weight, that silence. And I know she's still there, crying, hoping someone will finally stop pretending not to see." I sell food to people who don't go back home. And it took me years to realize that. My car is always in the same spot, corner of Maple and 4th Street, across from a gas station that closed so long ago that nobody remembers when it was open anymore. The neon light still flickers, a bit broken, making that high-pitched hum you only hear when the street is empty. And it's empty almost every night. I work from 10 at night until 4 in the morning, sometimes even later, if there's business. Hot dogs, French fries, soda. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Just hot food for those who are still awake when they shouldn't be. I know my clients. Or, I used to. There's the guy who works the double shift every Tuesday. The woman in blue scrubs who works at the hospital. The skinny guy with headphones who never takes his hoodie off. The girl who always orders it without onions and smiles wearily when I deliver it. They come. They eat. They leave. Until they stop coming. At first, I didn't think much about it. People change jobs. People move. People get tired of hot dogs. It's normal, I told myself. It's part of life. But there's one thing that I can't get out of my head. The way some of them ate, slowly, carefully, as if it were the last thing they were going to taste. And then, those phrases. That's enough. Now it's time to go. That's all I needed. I thought they were just ways of speaking. But the more I remembered, the more I realized they weren't saying that to me. They were saying it to themselves. And then they disappeared. The girl in the gray hoodie. She came every Friday for almost 6 months, until she stopped, without warning, without saying goodbye. The man in the dirty suit. He always asked for extra mustard. He came almost every night, until he stopped coming. The skinny guy with headphones. The last time he showed up, he stood in front of me for a while. He looked at the hot dog as if he were deciding something. He ate in silence. He said, "Thank you. That's all." He never came back. I started making mental lists, faces, clothes, last words. And the more I thought, the more I realized they didn't stop coming because they wanted to. They stopped because they disappeared. But I still didn't want to believe it. Not until that night. It was a Thursday in November. Cold. That kind of damp cold that clings to your skin and makes you feel like the night will never end. The neon light at the gas station blinked slower than usual, as if it were tired. I was cleaning the griddle when he appeared. Marcus. He'd been a regular customer for about 8 months, always polite, always punctual. He'd come around midnight, order the same thing, a hot dog with chili and a Coke. We didn't talk much, but I liked him. He was a constant presence, reliable. That night, he seemed different. He stood in front of the cart longer than usual, looking at me, then looking at the empty street, then back at me. Have you noticed that some people disappear after eating here? My stomach turned to ice. I stopped with my hand in the air, holding the spatula. I looked at him. I tried to laugh, but it came out awkward. Like this, Marcus did not smile. People who used to come all the time, and suddenly, they don't come anymore. He said it slowly. Each word weighed heavily. I tried to say something, anything, but my throat was dry. People change their routines, right? New jobs, things like that. Yes, he agreed. But the way he said it made it clear. He didn't believe it. We stood in silence for a while. The cold wind rattled the canvas of the cart. In the distance, a dog barked. Then Marcus began to speak. The girl in the gray hoodie, remember her? I remembered. She used to come every Friday. She always asked for extra ketchup. The last time she came, she ate slowly. She looked at you and said, "Now I can go." My heart raced. The man in the dirty suit. The one who looked like he never slept. I remembered him too. His last night, he just stood here. He ate slowly. He looked at the sky. He said, "This is enough." Marcus stopped. He took a deep breath. The skinny guy with the headphones. Do you remember what he said? I remembered perfectly. That was all. Marcus nodded. Exactly. We fell silent again, but now it was different. Now it was a heavy silence. Suffocating. I just sell hot dogs, man. My voice came out weak. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know. Marcus looked at me with an expression I couldn't decipher. Pity, fear. But have you ever stopped to think how many people have disappeared after eating here? I didn't answer, because I didn't want the answer. Marcus took out his wallet. He paid, but he didn't touch the food. I'm going to stop coming, he said quietly. Sorry. And he left. I was left alone. The cart, the neon lights, the wind. And that question kept echoing in my head. 3 days later, I was closing the shopping cart when I saw it. A poster, stuck to a lamppost, right in front of my car. Missing. The face in the photo was that of the man in the dirty suit. I felt my legs go weak. I read the entire poster. Name, age, last seen 3 months ago. In this area. I started searching. I walked down the street. More posters, more faces. The girl in the gray hoodie, the skinny boy with headphones, everyone there, everyone missing, everyone last seen, near the corner of Maple and 4th. Nobody had ever asked me anything, not the police, nobody. The posters were right there, in front of me, and I'd never seen them before. Or I didn't want to see it. I stopped sleeping properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces. The girl in the gray hoodie, the man in the dirty suit, the skinny boy. Marcus looking at me with that expression. How many people have disappeared after eating here? I started reviewing everything, every client, every conversation, every glance. And the more I thought about it, the more I noticed the pattern. They ate slowly, always slowly, as if they were savoring something more than just food. They were looking at me, not in a normal way. It was a final look, as if they were thanking me for something I didn't know I was giving. And the phrases, always the same phrases. That's enough. Now it's time to go. That's all I needed. I tried to close the cart. I swear I tried. But every night, at 10 o'clock sharp, I found myself back on the corner, lighting the stove, turning on the light, opening the door. It was as if something was pulling me there, as if I had no choice. She showed up on a Tuesday, a young woman. She must have been about 25 years old. Short hair, denim jacket, tired eyes. She ordered a plain hot dog, nothing on it. I prepared it. I delivered it. She paid. And then she ate, slowly, looking at food as if it were the most important thing in the world. When she finished, she looked at me. She smiled, a small, sad smile. That's all I needed. Thank you. My blood ran cold. Wait, I said, before she left. My voice came out desperate. You're going to be okay. She looked at me with a strange expression, as if the question made no sense. I'm going, she said. Now I'm going. And he left, walking slowly down 4th Street, until he disappeared into the darkness. I stood there, frozen, trembling, unable to move. 3 days later, I saw her poster, missing, same area, same corner. I fell to my knees right there on the sidewalk, because I finally understood. I wasn't selling food. I was offering something else, something I can't name, something these people needed before they went. I am the last face they see. I am the last thing they feel that is warm. I am the farewell. And the worst part of all, I don't know if I can stop, because every night I come back. I open the stroller, I turn on the light, and I wait. I'm waiting for them, for those who are yet to come, for those who will still eat slowly, for those who will look at me with that final look and say, that's all I needed. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm missing too, because when was the last time someone truly saw me? When was the last time someone asked my name? I'm just the guy with the cart, the guy on the corner, the guy who's always there. But am I really? Or have I been there too? And now I just wait, at the corner of Maple and 4th, under the broken neon sign, serving the last meal for people who aren't going home. If you work the night shift, tell me where. And if you've ever been through something similar, you already know what to do.